Hello and welcome to this Beyond Exploring session. I am Robert Crighton, your host, as we continue this exploration of Antonio and Mellida by John Marston. The story so far: Antonio and his family are in deep, deep doo-doo with the royal court of moderately evil sexual deviants. He, however, is in love with Mellida, and having disguised himself as an Amazonian woman to disguise himself within the court, he has, however, revealed himself to Mellida and shown that they love each other in beautiful and stirring terms. Possibly. Antonio's father, Andrugio, is on a beach somewhere being a bit sad, and what's going on with the rest of the court, frankly, you don't want to know. You don't want to know. If you go back to episode 1, seriously, you don't want to recap from me. It's not going to help. We have, however, a team of people who are going to be rattling through Act 3, Scene 2 onwards, hopefully beyond Act 4, and we're even going to take a little bit of a segue into another play entirely. Yes, just to confuse you, because there is some overlap with other plays available. So, let's introduce you to the team in the room. So, in no particular order, we will start with the reader of Piero, and the painter is
Alexandra. Hello.
And reading Balurdo today is muted.
Sugar, Derek, hi.
And reading Antonio is Antonio with the cat.
Oh, hi. Sorry. Yes, slightly distracted by my assistant. I'm Tamara. Hi.
And reading Mellida, who wasn't here yesterday and therefore is totally lost, is...
Hello, I'm Pamela.
Reading Dildo and Page is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good.
And reading Catzo and Andrugio is...
Hello, I'm William Sutton.
Reading Castilio, Flavia, and a sudden intermission, Hieronimo is...
Hello, I'm Sarah Blake.
And reading Feliche and Lucio is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott.
And for your delectation and pleasure today, I will be reading Rossaline and Galeatzo. So we shall see how that goes. Did I miss anybody out? No, good. We all know who we are, hopefully. That'll be fab. So we are in Act 3, Scene 2, and we'll see where this goes. Songs may occur, but don't worry, we're not going to be singing them at you. Act 3, Scene 2, the palace, once again, of the Duke of Venice. Enter Feliche, walking unbraced.
Castilio, Alberto, Balurdo, none up? For Moscow, flattery, nor thou up yet? And there's no courtier stirring, that's firm truth. I cannot sleep, Feliche seldom rests. In these court lodgings I have walked all night, to see if the nocturnal court delights could force me envy their felicity. And by plain troth, I will confess plain truth, I envy nothing but transverse light. Oh, had it eyes and ears and tongues, it might see sport, hear speech of most strange circuities. Oh, if that candlelight were made a poet, he would draw a rare firking satirist, and draw the core forth of imposthumed sin. Well, I thank heaven yet that my content can envy nothing but poor candlelight. As for other glistening copper spangs that glisten in the tire of the court, praise God, I either hate or pity them. Well, here I'll sleep till that the scene of up is past at court. O calm, hushed, rich content, is there a being blessedness without thee? How soft thou downest the couch where thou dost rest, nectar to life, thou sweet ambrosian feast.
Enter Castilio and his page, Catzo. Castilio with a casting bottle of sweet water in his hand, sprinkling himself.
Am I not the most sweet youth now?
Yes, when your throat's perfumed, your very words do smell of ambergris. Oh, stay, sir, stay. Sprinkle some sweet water to your shoes' heels, that your mistress may swear you have a sweet foot.
Good. Very good. Very passing good.
But what treble minicking squeaks there, huh? Good, very good, very, very good.
I will warble to the delicious conclave of my mistress's ear and strike her thoughts with the pleasing touch of my voice.
And a song ensues and ends.
Feliche, health, fortune, mirth, and wine.
To thee, my love divine.
I drink to thee, sweeting.
Plague on thee for an ass.
Now thou hast seen the court, by the perfection of it, dost not envy it?
I wonder it doth not envy me. Why, man, I have been born upon the spirit's wings, the soul swift Pegasus, the fantasy, and from the height of contemplation have viewed the feeble joints men totter on. I envy none, but hate or pity all. For when I view with an intensive thought that creature fair but proud, him rich but sot, t'other witty but unmeasured arrogant, him great yet boundless in ambition, him high-born but of base life, t'other feared yet feared fears, and fears most to be loved, him wise but made a fool for public use, the other learned but self-opinionate. When I discourse all these and see myself not fair, not rich, not witty, great, nor feared, yet amply suited with all full content, Lord, how I clap my hands and smooth my brow, rubbing my quiet bosom, tossing up a grateful spirit to omnipotence.
Ah, but if thou knewst my happiness, thou wouldst even grate away thy soul to dust in envy of my sweet beatitude. I cannot sleep for kisses. I cannot rest for ladies' letters that importune me with such unused vehemence of love, straight to solicit them, that...
Oh, confusion seize me, but I think thou liest. Why should I not be sought to them as well? For methinks I am as like a man. Troth, I have a good head of hair, a cheek not as yet waned, a leg, faith in the full. I had not a red beard, take not tobacco much, and lid for other parts of manliness.
Pew, you ne'er courted them in pomp, put your good parts in presence graciously. Ha! And you had, why, they would have come off, sprung to your arms, and sued and prayed and vowed and opened all their sweetness to your love.
There are a number of such things as thou have often urged me to such loose belief. But Slid, you all do lie, you all do lie. I have put on good clothes and smugged my face, struck a fair wench with the smart speaking eye, courted in all sorts, blunt and passionate, had opportunity, put them to the and by this light I find them wondrous chaste, impregnable, perchance a kiss or so, but for the rest, oh, most inexorable.
Nay then, i' faith, prithee, look here.
And shows him the superscription of a seeming letter.
To her most esteemed love and generous sergeant, Signor Castilio Balthazar. Prithee, from whom comes this? Faith, I must see. From her that is devoted to thee, in most private sweets of love, Rossaline. Nay, God's my comfort, I must see the rest. I must, sans ceremony, faith, I must.
But Feliche takes away the letter by force.
Oh, you spoil my ruff, unset my hair. Good away.
Item for straight canvas, 13 pence halfpenny. Item for an ell and a half of taffeta to cover your old canvas doublet, 14 shillings and threepence. It's like this is a tailor's bill.
In sooth, it is the outside of her letter, on which I took the copy of a tailor's bill.
But 'tis not crossed, I'm sure of that. Lord have mercy on him, his credit hath given up the last gasp. Faith, I'll leave him, for he looks as melancholy as a wench that first night she...
exits at the most opportune moment of that line.
Honest muskcod, 'twill not be stitched together. Take that,
Oh!
and that,
Oh!
and belie no lady's love. Swear no more by Jesu, this madam, that lady. Hence, go, forswear the presence. Travel 3 years to bury this bastinado. Avoid, puff-paste, avoid.
And tell not my lady mother. Well, as I am a true gentleman, if she had not willed me on her blessing not to spoil my face, if I could not find it in my heart to fight, would I ne'er eat a potato pie more.
And we'll just pause there. It's difficult to pause actually in this play because action overlaps and elides into each other. And I can feel the room wanting to mention something here, but you can't, and that's fine. What I like about this little scenette is that it's obviously playing with a certain some fun business. Of trying to trick this chap who, but then he finds that it's a tailor's bill, that this conceit falls apart in their hands almost immediately, in a really rather fun bit of action. And I think it helps that people possibly have a sense of this game, this conceit elsewhere. We've got this sort of weird back and forth between Feliche and Castilio, and Felice's purpose, perhaps in this play, is becoming more apparent and becoming more delicate. Helen,
what I hadn't realised, he appears to imply that he is new to the court. Feliche does, and yet, my impression had been from the first part that he was very much a part of the court. He wasn't an incomer.
I think he definitely feels like an outsider within the court, if that makes sense.
Yes,
he's not part of any of these cliques. I think there's a jealousy factor as well as all this opprobrium of other people's behaviour. I think he seems to be here motivated in part by the fact that he's not anybody's friend, and he's a bit jealous. I don't know if I'm going too far with that. Does that make sense?
In some ways, I'm getting the feeling that he's the only sane one in the pack.
Well, he doesn't fall for the trick, does he? I mean, he does for a moment. Because Castilio is as much of a perhaps living his own lie as anyone else. Because this whole business with the letter is very, very odd.
Well, Feliche, he gives the impression of being very, very cynical. Which he is, about all the flatterers in the court. But then he suddenly reveals in this moment, like, oh yes, I don't have a lady to love me, and it's like that's another side of him that we haven't seen before.
Because of course he's wandering around just telling everyone else that they're terrible people.
Yeah.
Go figure.
That would be why. Yeah.
Any additional thoughts before this scene continues? Because Feliche doesn't leave; only Castilio has left. I didn't even notice Dildo entering, but
I was
Dildo.
going to say, when did Dildo come in?
Yeah, Dildo's presence seems to have just randomly occurred. Or is that an error in? Dildo seems to be turning up later on, so that's an interesting question. Doesn't seem to be doing anything out of character per se, but then I haven't really noticed much of a character for Dildo, just beyond a comedy name.
Yes, he's not down on the entrances, is he?
No.
He's
enters with the principals.
Yeah, it's he exits to now re-enter, so he's definitely back in force. So maybe there's just a little. He's supposed to come in with everybody else, or is he connected?
Or is it maybe a misnomer for Catzo?
I don't
because
think
Catzo is in that scene and he's nowhere else in that scene.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering whether that's just an error on my part, or is that Catzo? It doesn't matter. I love the fact that whoever it is exits with this. I'm halfway through a joke that's obviously about to be obscene. We don't see where it goes.
Well, a not unknown technique in comedy.
Okay, let's crack on then and see where this scene goes. So, enter Balurdo backward. Dildo following him with a looking glass in one hand and a candle in the other hand. Flavia following him backward with a looking glass in one hand and a candle in the other. Rossaline following her. Balurdo and Rossaline stand, setting of faces, and so the scene begins.
More fool, more rare fools. Oh, for time and place, long enough and large enough to act these fools. Here might be made a rare scene of folly, if the plat could bear it.
By the sugar candy sky, hold up the glass higher, that I may see to swear in fashion. Oh, one look more would have made them shine. God's neeks, they would have shone like my mistress' brow. Even so the Duke frowns for all this cozened world. Oh, that gurn kills, it kills. By my golden... What's the richest thing about me?
Your teeth.
By my golden teeth, hold up that I may put in. Hold up, I say, that I may see to put on my gloves.
Oh, delicious, sweet-cheeked master. If you discharge but one glance from the level of that set face, oh, you will strike a wench. You'll make any wench love you.
By Jesu, I think I am as elegant as a courtier as... How likest thou my suit?
All beyond all, no Perigal, you are wondered at. For an ass.
Well, Dildo, no Christian creature shall know hereafter what I will do for thee heretofore.
Here wants a little white, Flavia.
Ay, but master, you have one little fault. You sleep open-mouthed.
Phew, thou jests in good sadness. I'll have a looking-glass nailed to the testern of the bed, that I may see, when I sleep, whether 'tis so or not. Take heed you lie not. Go to, take heed you lie not.
By my troth, you look as like the princess now. Aye, but her lip is a little redder, a very little redder.
Oh, but by the help of art or nature, ere I change my periwig, mine shall be as red.
Oh, why? That face, that eye, that smile, that writhing of your body, that wanton dandling of your fan becomes prettily, so sweetly. 'Tis even the goodest lady that breathes, the most amiable. Faith, the fringe of your satin petticoat is ripped. Oh, good faith, madam, they say you are the most bounteous lady to whom your women that ever... Oh, most delicious beauty. Good madam, let me kiss it.
Oh, no, not my line, sorry.
Rare sport. A female fool and a female flatterer.
Body of me, the Duke, away, the glass. And enter Piero.
Take up your paper, Rossaline.
Not mine, my lord.
Not yours, my lady. I'll see what it is.
And how does my sweet mistress, O lady dear, even as 'tis an old say, 'tis an old horse can neither wily nor wag his tail. Even so do I hold my set face still, even so 'tis a bad courtier that can neither discourse nor blow his nose.
Meet me at Abraham's the Jews, where I bought my Amazon's disguise. A ship lies in the port, ready bound for England. Make haste, come private. Antonio.
Enter Castilio and Forabosco.
Forabosco, Alberto, Feliche, Castilio, Balurdo. Run, keep the place, post to the ports, go to my daughter's chamber. With a now, scud to the Jews. Stay, run to the gates, stop the gondolas. Let none pass the marsh. Do all at once. Antonio. His head, keep you the court, the rest stand still, or run, or go, or shout, or search, or scud, or call, or hang, or do something. I know not what, I do know where I am. Oh, trista traditrice, rea ribalda fortuna, negandomi vendetta mi causa fera morte.
Exeunt all but Feliche.
Ha ha ha! I could break my spleen at his impatience.
Just going to pause there because suddenly all sorts of it's really interesting. We have this little moment of the court coming on, doing their look at me, I'm fabulous. Am I about to hit Flavia there? When you mention the ripped dress, because you suddenly go into, you say the dress is ripped, and then I immediately you say, "Oh, but you are the most bounteous lady ever." It's like I'm just raising a hand and going, and then you manage to turn me round from my fury.
I wasn't sure about that. I wasn't sure if you were threatening her.
Yeah.
Or whether you were holding out maybe a coin, like, "Oh, here, fix it," and she was like, "Oh, you are the most bounteous lady." I couldn't just I had no idea really. So
I certainly thought she was soliciting a douceur.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
And the word kith, I don't quite follow in context.
I think it's kiss.
I think it's meant to be. I read it as kiss, but
Yeah,
I mean,
let me kiss it. I think that's just again, that's one of those spelling questions. It's not unfamiliar as a way, and then suddenly plot gets in the way. Gah, the plot court's having so much fun, and then suddenly Antonio's left the receipt for his Amazon costume. He ordered it via Amazon Prime, and there's the shipping receipt. And suddenly, we have this Piero panic attack. I mean, it's so well written that I really love that. And go over there. Somebody do something. I'm in charge. I don't do details. It's very Trump, that, isn't it? It's just
the visual that came to mind with me was the Keystone Cops.
Yeah.
Run in all directions at once.
Yes. Do all the things instantly, please. That'd be great. So, yeah, suddenly the court is all of a flutter and it's all business. So, which is not it's a good moment, of course, for Antonio now to enter.
No, and also that Italian is not going to sound as glorious as Alexandra's.
Yes, we are approaching the point where we will be entering some of this world. Just do your best, and just make it sound beautiful, because it's enter Antonio and Mellida at the same time. So we can suggest that that's the tenor of the speech. I'm sure we can worry about translating it later. So enter Antonio and Mellida.
Alma ed graziosa fortuna siate favorevole, ed fortunati siano voti della mia dolce Mellida, Mellida.
Alas, Antonio, I have lost thy note. A number mount my stairs. I'll straight return.
And off she goes.
Antonio, be not a fright, sweet prince. Appease thy fear, buckle thy spirits up. Put all thy wits in wimble action, or thou art surprised.
I care not.
Art mad, or desperate, or...
Both, all. I prithee, let me lie. Spite of you all I can, and I will die.
You are distraught. Oh, this is madness breath.
Each man takes hence life, but no man death. He's a good fellow, and keeps open house. 1,000 ways lead to his gate, to his wide-mouthed porch, when niggard life hath but one little wicket through. We wring ourselves into this wretched world to pule and weep, exclaim, to curse and rail, to fret and ban the fates, to strike the earth, as I do now. Antonio, curse thy birth and die.
Nay, heaven's my comfort. Now you are perverse. You know I always loved you. Prithee live. Wilt thou strike dead thy friends, draw mourning tears?
Alas, Feliche, I had no friend, no country, father, brother, kinsman left, to weep my fate or sigh my funeral. I roll but up and down, and fill a seat in the dark cave of dusky misery.
For heaven, the Duke comes. Hold you, take my key. Slink to my chamber. Look you, that is it. There should you find a suit I wore at sea. Take it, and slip away. Nay, precious, if you'll be peevish, by this light I'll swear, thou railest upon thy love before thou diedest, and called her strumpet.
She'll not credit thee.
That's all one. I will defame thy love, and make thy dead trunk held in vile regard.
Wilt needs have it so. Why then, Antonio, vive speranza in dispetto del fatto.
And he exits. So Feliche, having just immediately jumped in and said, figured out who you are now. I am your friend. We have Antonio has an ally, the first ally that we've gathered in the court. Felice's purpose is starting to feel more purposeful within the plot. Okay, enter Piero, Galeatzo, Maggiazetti for Bosco, Balurdo, and Castilio with weapons.
Oh, my sweet princes, was not bravely found. Even there I found the note. Even there it lay. I kissed the place for joy that there it lay. Mwah. This way he went. Here, let us make a stand. I'll keep this gate myself. Oh, gallant youth! I'll drink carouse unto your country's health, even in Antonio's skull.
Lord bless us, his breath is more fearful than a sergeant's voice when he cries, I arrest!
And enter Antonio. Now he's disguised as a sailor.
Stop, Antonio! Keep Antonio!
Where, man, where?
Here, let me pursue him down the march.
Hold, there's my signet. Take a gondola. Bring me his head, and by mine honour I'll make thee the wealthiest mariner that breathes.
I'll sweat my blood out till I have him safe.
Spoke heartily, of faith, good mariner. Oh, we will mount in triumph. Soon at night I'll set his head up. Let's think, where?
Upon his shoulders, that's the fittest place for it, if it not be as fit as if it were made for them, say, Balurdo, thou art a sot, an ass.
Enter Mellida in page's attire, dancing.
Sprightly, i' faith. I' troth, he's somewhat like my daughter Mellida, but alas, poor soul, her on his heels, God knows, aren't half so light.
Escaped I am, spite of my father's spite.
And she exits, presumably still dancing.
Oh, this will warm my bosom ere I sleep.
Enter Flavia running.
Oh, my Lord! Your daughter!
Aye, my daughter's safe enough, I warrant thee. This vengeance on the boy will lengthen out my days unmeasuredly. It shall be chronicled in time to come. Piero Sforza slew Andrugio's son.
Aye, but my lord, your daughter!
Aye, my good wench, she is safe enough.
Oh, then, my lord, you know, she's run away!
Run away? Away! How run away?
She vanished in an instant. None knows whither.
Pursue! Pursue! Fly, run, post, scud away.
And was not good King Solomon,
etc.
Fly. Fly, call, run, row, hide, cry, shout, hurry, haste, hurry, shout, cry, right, row, run, call, fly, backwards and forwards, every way about. Maledetta fortuna che dura sorte. Che farò, che dirò, por fuggir tanto mal.
It was you that struck me even now, was it not?
It was I that struck you even now.
You bastinadoed me, I take it.
I bastinadoed you, and you took it.
Faith, sir, I have the richest tobacco in the court for you. I would be glad to make you satisfaction if I have wronged you. I would not the sun should set upon your anger. Give me your hand.
Content, Faith, so thou breed no more such lies? I hate not man, but man's lewd qualities.
And the end of the act. Yes, That was so much fun. Suddenly, it's Antonio quickly exits, immediately re-enters as a sailor, is commissioned by his enemy to get in the fastest boat he can. Mellida does a random dancing escape. Dressed as a page, because in this court everybody's dancing. That's what they do. That's such a fun bit of action. Piero's lines just get even better. That whole thing of haste, hurry, shout, cry, ride, run, fly, call.
Oh, that must be so much fun. The person having to do that. That you play that character. I mean, you also get. I can't remember ever noticing a stutter written in before, which is what he had earlier. I love that.
And that's an interesting question. Is that a character thing that he has a stutter, or is it just that moment of panic he had the stutter? And is it coming back from childhood or something? That's something we can ask the actor to play around with. It's a really interesting question. Other thoughts about this act? Really, it's another busy old act. Plots heating up. Characters are making sense, sort of. Are we liking Antonio more? Derek wasn't keen yesterday. How are you finding Antonio today?
I'm having a little bit more fun now that I'm in disguise. Before that, it's just that whole, I'm sad, I want to die, please let me die. It's, the modern word emo comes to mind.
Antonio the emo, lovely. It's that thing of he's doing this sort of mock. Is he mocking Feliche a bit about and now I die? That is that deliberately over the top? I mean, it is deliberately over the top.
I'm wondering, because I mean, I tried to read it straight because I mean that's what we're doing right now, isn't it? But it's I wonder if that's what it is. It's kind of like, oh well, then I die. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's I cannot. As we sort of try and figure out what the tone of this is and where we're pitching the performance, we're getting more clues as we go. Getting more clues.
In some ways, you could back this not with the songs, but with sort of the silent movie era piano scripts for chase music.
Yes, there is a bit of that, isn't there? And if you've got a band, then why not? Why not? The technical term of melodrama, of melodic drama. This is not as an insult, but as something that as a style feels very connected to this. Any additional thoughts before we crack into Act 4?
I read this morning, and I had never occurred to me what a gondolette was. It's so simple.
Yeah, it's just a very a variant spelling or idea from the time.
It just.
Yeah.
It would have come eventually, I hope, but it didn't.
But I think it's a great example of that thing that we always say about studying this sort of stuff in school, where if you're reading it, it's not as, some things won't come naturally, but if you're hearing it or if you're watching it on stage, the word will immediately put you in the right frame, in the right, send you in the right direction.
Yeah, context shaping meaning. I mean, that's the thing, is that a page is a universal context. It doesn't give you anything more, especially if you don't read the stage directions properly, which I frequently don't. Suddenly going, oh, that's what's going on. Assuming that you get a full set of stage directions as well, which sometimes you don't.
With apologies to the two Ronnies, he's chasing him around the Far Canal.
I had a language question, actually.
We're probably going to have quite a few of those in a moment.
In Wimble Action.
Yeah.
Wimble, I know, turns up in medieval drama. It rings a massive bell. So it is a word. I just can't remember what the hell it means. There's variant spellings and variations on that. I know Satan says it at some point. It was very confusing. Satan talking about something wembling, saying wembles.
I mean, the context of the line, put all thy wits in wimble action, it makes it sound like it's something like daring or, you know, virtuous or, you know, heroic.
Yeah.
But I just quite liked it, wimble action.
Yeah. Well, William.
No, I kind of thought that little piece where Antonio says each man takes hence life, but no man death, and how death has 1,000 ways that lead to his gate, when niggard life hath but one little wicket through, as well. I just thought I've never heard of it called a wicket before.
But little wicket gate.
The little wicket gate.
Yeah. Though of course we shouldn't talk about a wicket gate, because then the cricket men will come through and start tossing explosive cricket balls at us, and the whole human race will be destroyed. Sorry, Douglas Adams reference.
Going back to Wimble, the OED is extremely boring on the subject. Just says nimble.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had thought it was a misprint of nimble too, but I was just looking up Wimble as well, and the much less reputable Wiktionary does have a whole bunch of etymologies for it. That it might be from a hand tool for boring holes, or it might be from some sort of other tool, and then the verb arises to bore, to pierce, to truss hay.
Yes,
I don't know about it as an adjective.
Yes, the OED distinguishes very much the adjective from the noun. They've got the noun, the boring tool, but they don't see a connection with the adjective.
Sithen the world first began, knew I never such a woman, born of a deadlick woman, and he yet wembles. That's from Chester, Mystery Temptation, Satan. That's Wembles rather than Wimbles. That's all sorts of weird things that I don't know the answer to, but they're really good questions.
Can I just make one more point? Right at the beginning of this, maybe even the previous scene, was that coming on with the looking glass and the candle. But what kind of little bit of stagecraft was that? Was that them facing one another, looking at one another, looking out at the audience? What's actually happening there? I would be interested to explore what you can actually do. Because they are mirroring that action by saying it within the instructions as they're coming on.
Yeah, it is a really interesting bit of business. It's very detailed in its explanations as well. Is it that they're all doing the same act at the same time and they don't notice each other, or is it an explicit mirroring of each other?
I would have thought that it will be one master servant, mistress servant, one downstage left, one downstage right.
But is this thing? Are they aware of each other doing the same action? Is it
no,
like the whole court is there doing the same thing because they're all vain and idle? Is that
no? I think they're disguising scenes, and I think they will be done on either side of the stage. And Feliche, the way I see him working at the moment, he's almost standing centre stage and commentating on a hell of a lot of it, because we've only just had this bit where he's actually really got involved with the action, where it turns out that he's got some prior connection in some way with Antonio,
and that they are kindred spirits on some level. Any other thoughts about what's going on with that particular bit of action?
I saw it as a sort of procession, that the first one comes out going backwards, followed by his servant facing him, and then the other servant is walking backwards, facing her mistress. And they're sort of come out as a little train and maybe separate off.
I think this is one where not being able to physically get together is going to slightly get in the way of passing this one. I do have a reference to this in a book somewhere, which I will rustle out for tomorrow, I think.
Oh, good.
Because I do recall there was a discussion somewhere of this scene in one of my Marston books that didn't get nicked. Okay, let's crack on into Act 4 then, and see where we go. So we're going to have, we're going to the seashore, the seashells by the seashore near Venice. Act 4, Scene 1. Enter Antonio in his sea gown, running.
Stop, Antonio! Stay, Antonio! Vain breath, Antonio's lost. He cannot find himself, not seize himself. Alas, this that you see is not Antonio. His spirit hovers in Piero's court, hurling about his agile faculties to apprehend the sight of Mellida. But poor soul, wanting apt instruments to speak or see, stands dumb and blind, sad spirit, rolled up in gloomy clouds as black as air, through which the rusty coach of night is drawn. 'Tis so. I'll give you instance that 'tis so. Conceit you me as having clasped a rose within my palm, the rose being taken away. My hand retains a little breath of the sweet. So may man's trunk, his spirit slipped away, hold still a faint perfume of his sweet guest. 'Tis so. For when discursive powers fly out and roam in progress through the bounds of heaven, the soul itself gallops along with them as chieftain of this winged troop of thought, whilst the dull lodge of spirit standeth waste, until the soul return from... What was't I said? Oh, this is naught but speckling melancholy. I have been... That Morpheus' tender skin... Cousin German, bear with me, good Mellida, clod upon clod thus fall. Hell is beneath, yet heaven is over all.
And, like son, like father, he falls on the ground. Enter Andrugio, Lucio, and Page.
Come, Lucio, let's go eat. What hast thou got? Roots, roots! Alas, they're seeded, new cut up. Oh, thou hast wronged nature, Lucio. Thou but boots not much. Thou but pursuest the world that cuts off virtue before it comes to growth, lest it should seed and so o'errun her son. Dull, purblind error. Give me water, boy. There's no poison in it, I hope. You say that lurks in massy plate. And yet the earth is so infected with the general plague that he's most wise that thinks there's no man fool. Right prudent that esteems no creature just. Great policy the least things to mistrust. Give me a say, how we mock greatness now.
A strong conceit is rich, so most men deem. If not to be, 'tis comfort yet to seem.
Aye, man, I never was a prince till now. 'Tis not the barred pate, the bended knees, gilt tip staves, Tyrian purple chairs of state, troops of pied butterflies that flutter still in greatness summer that confirm a prince. 'Tis not the unsavory breath of multitudes shouting and clapping with confused din that makes a prince. No, Lucio, he's a king, a true right king that dares do aught save wrong, fears nothing mortal but to be unjust, who is not blown up with the flattering puffs of spongy sycophants, who stands unmoved despite the justling of opinion, who can enjoy himself, maugre the throng that strive to press his quiet out of him, who sits upon Jove's footstool as I do now, adoring, not affecting majesty, whose brow is wreathed with the silver crown of clear content. This, Lucio, is a king, and of this empire every man's possessed that worth his soul.
My lord, the Genoese had wont to say,
Name not that Genoese, that very word unkings me quite, makes me vile passion's slave. Oh, you that slide upon the glibbery ice of vulgar favour, you, Andrugio! Was never prince with more applause confirmed with louder shouts of triumph launched out into the surgy main of government? Was never prince with more despite cast out, left shipwrecked, banished on more guiltless ground? Oh, rotten props of the crazed multitude, how you still double, falter under the lightest chance that strains your veins. Alas, one battle lost, your whorish love, your drunken hells, your houts and shouts, your smooth God saves, and all your devils lost that tempts our quiet to your hell of throngs. Spit on me, Lucio, for I am tyrant slave. Observe how passion domineers o'er me.
no wonder, noble lord, having lost a son, a country, crown, and...
I, Lucio, having lost a son, a country, house, crown, son, O lares, miseri lares. Which shall I first deplore, my son, my dear sweet boy, my dear Antonio?
Did someone mention Antonio?
Antonio?
I echo, I mean Antonio.
Let's just pause there for a second. God, it really is father like son, isn't it? They are so... it's like Antonio hasn't quite figured out precisely how to do the overblown rhetoric thing, so he's stumbling over it and going, oh, it should, oh, I've almost got it. I've almost got, no. And then it's like, poor Lucio. What? Don't try and step on his, he's not finished yet.
Drama queens, the both.
You know, he tries to get a word in edgeways and he just runs straight through it.
It's a drama king rather than a drama queen.
Yeah. Well, it's you've got that sort of pre-cue as well with Lucio, because he says, "No wonder, noble lord, having lost a son," and Lucio's he's not gonna get a country, clown, and because Andrugio's just gonna go straight in over the top of that, and that's really nicely written so that you can have these lines colliding. And same with my lord the Genoese, and just name not them. It's really fun. This this is not striving, I think, for a dramatic effect. I'm just putting that out there. Any additional thoughts before we move forward?
Both Piero and Andrugio tend to be a little they're not the same, but they have a similar attitude towards expressing themselves. They both become very passionate. I mean, Andrugio has better words and longer.
But they're very black and white about their opinions, aren't they?
Yes.
And you get that with Antonio and Mellida, I think, as well. This sort of, I'll have her or I'll die.
And we get a repetition of a theme we had earlier. Spit on me, Lucio, for I am your turned slave. And I'm sort of going, well, we had that scene earlier.
There's that great bit of physical comedy as well, where when he's finished ranting finally, and Andrugio says, "My dear sweet boy, my dear Antonio," and you could just imagine Antonio's been lying spread eagle at the back of the station. And when he hears his name, he just sits up and goes, "Antonio?"
Yeah.
So funny.
Yeah. And it's a really good cue. He's got a good solid cue to do the physical comedy business as well. Okay. Any thoughts before we go into the reunion? I'm sure it'll be beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful scene of reunion. Andrugio, give us the cue in for that. My son, my dear sweet son, boy.
my son, my dear sweet boy, my dear Antonio.
Antonio?
I mean Antonio.
Antonio? Who means Antonio?
Whereat, what art? Knowest thou Antonio?
Yes.
Lives he?
No.
Where lies he dead?
Here.
Where? Where? Art thou Antonio?
I think I am.
Dost thou but think? What, dost not know thyself?
He is a fool that thinks he knows himself.
Upon thy faith to heaven, give thy name.
I were not worthy of Andrugio's blood if I denied my name's Antonio.
I were not worthy to be called thy father if I denied my name Andrugio. And dost thou live? Oh, let me kiss thy cheek and dew thy brow with tickling drops of joy. Now heaven's will be done, for I have lived to see my joy, my son Antonio. Give me thy hand. Now fortune do thy worst, his blood that lapped thy spirit in the womb, thus in his love will make his arms thy tomb.
Bless not the body with your twining arms, which is a curse of heaven. Oh, what black sin hath been committed by our ancient house, whose scalding vengeance lights upon our heads, that thus the world and fortune casts us out as loathed objects, ruins, branded slaves.
Do not expostulate the heaven's will, but, oh, remember to forget thyself. Forget, remembrance what thou once hast been. Come, creep with me from out this open air. Even trees have tongues and will betray our life. I am a raising of our house, my boy, which fortune will not envy. 'Tis so mean and like the world, all dirt. There shalt thou rip the inwards of thy fortunes in mine ears, while I sit weeping, blind with passion's tears. Then I'll begin. And will such order keep that one shall still tell griefs, the other weep?
Exeunt Andrugio and Lucio, leaving Antonio and the page.
I'll follow you. Boy, prithee stay a little. Thou hast a good voice, if this cold marsh wherein we lurk have not corrupted it.
Enter Mellida, standing out of sight in her page's suit.
I prithee sing, but, sirrah, mark you me, let each note breathe the heart of passion, that sad extracture of extremest grief. Make me strain, speak groaning like a bell that tolls departing souls. Breathe me a point that may enforce me weep, to wring my hands that break my cursed breast. Rave and exclaim like groveling on the earth, straight start off with frantic crying, Mellida! Sorry. Sing but, Antonio hath lost Mellida, and thou shalt see me like a man possessed, howl out such passion that even this brinish marsh will squeeze out tears from out his spongy cheeks, that rocks even groan, and prithee, sing, or I shall ne'er have done what I am in. 'Tis harder for me end than to begin.
The boy runs a note, i.e. starts singing,
Follow
barely gets
me,
one syllable
boy.
in.
My grief that hath no end, I may begin to plain. But prithee sing.
And a song occurs.
Heaven keep you, sir.
Heaven keep you from me, sir.
I must be acquainted with you, sir.
Wherefore? Art thou infected with misery, seared with the anguish of calamity? Art thou true sorrow, hearty grief? Canst weep? I'm not for thee if thou canst not rave.
Antonio once again falls to the ground.
Fall flat on the ground and thus exclaim on heaven, O trifling nature, why inspirest thou breath?
Stay, sir. I think you named Mellida.
Know'st thou Mellida?
Yes.
Hast thou seen Mellida?
Yes.
Then hast thou seen the glory of her sex, the music of nature, the unequalled lustre of unmatched excellence, the united sweet of heaven's graces, the most adored beauty that ever struck amazement in the world.
You seem to love her.
With my very soul.
She'll not requite it. All her love is fixed upon a gallant, one Antonio, the Duke of Genoa's son. I was her page, and often as I waited, she would sigh, "Oh, dear Antonio," and to strengthen thought, would clip my neck and kiss me thus. Therefore, leave loving her. Faith, methinks her beauty is not half so ravishing as you discourse of. She hath a freckled face, a low forehead, and a lumpish eye.
Oh, heaven, that I should hear such blasphemy! Boy, rogue, thou liest, and spavento del mio cor dolce Mellida, di grave morte ristoro, vero dolce Mellida, celeste salvatrice, sovrana Mellida, del mio sperar trofeo vero Mellida.
Diletta e sove anima mia Antonio, godevole bellezza cortese Antonio, signore mio e virginale amore bella Antonio, gusto delle mie sensi car Antonio.
Oh, svanisse il cor in un suave bacio.
Muonio i sensi nel desiato desio.
Nel cielo può esser belta più chiara.
Nel mondo può essere belta più chiara.
Dammi un bacio da quella bocca beata. La siama goglier Laura odorata. Ceha sua segia in quel dolci labbra.
Dammi per impero del tuo grave amore. Che bea mi consempiterno onore, così mi converrà morir. Good, sweet, scout o'er the marsh, for my heart trembles at every little breath that strikes my ear. When thou returnest, then I will discourse how I deceived the court. Then thou shalt tell how thou escaped the watch. We'll point our speech with amorous kissing commas, and even suck the liquid breath from out each other's lips.
Dull clod, no man but such sweet favour clips. I go, and yet my panting blood persuades me stay. Turn coward in her sight? Away, away.
And they exit.
I think the confusion of Babel is fallen upon these lovers, that they change their language. But I fear me, my master having but feigned the person of a woman, hath got their unfeigned imperfection, and is grown double-tongued. As for Mellida, she were no woman if she could not yield strange language. But howsoever, if I should sit in judgment, 'tis an error easier to be pardoned by the auditors than excused by the authors. And yet some private respect may rebate the edge of the keener censure.
Yes, the voice of the audience there, just to sum up and go very meta. There's so much there. Mellida, just before they go into the land of Babel, when saying as a page kiss and kiss me thus, is that coming with a physical action? I'm just wondering there. It suddenly feels very intimate.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
And they go into this, oratorio. They go into this Mellida. There's little bits in there that you can pick out, but we've got the basic gist by the fact they just keep saying the name and the acting. At some point, of course, they figure out who the other person is, and I don't know precisely where that lives because I haven't got a translation in front of me. But again, it doesn't really matter per se for the audience who doesn't speak anything other than English.
Well,
it isn't in the Italian. A moment of recognition isn't in the text.
No.
Is it
So
not?
in the Italian, they just say stuff about the other person, and then they go, dissolve my heart with a loving kiss. So there isn't. Yeah,
so there isn't in that text. It's just simply they're somewhere in the gap. They figure it out.
But it's if they do kiss, if the whole thing with the page, describing how she would kiss him, if they then if she kisses him to show what Mellida used to do to him, it could be that they're snogging all the way through this, and then at some point they realise, oh, it's you. You could have some great physical comedy with that there. Yeah, it's like, I recognise those lips.
That thing you do with the tongue, very, very familiar. So Tamara, I see your hand up.
Didn't we sort of establish that the two of them keep going into Italian when they're all lovey-dovey? Hasn't that been a thing earlier as well?
I think it's definitely happened once. It may have happened more than once.
So maybe it's this. Oh, you speak Italian, and I speak Italian, and we do that together, and therefore it must be
because we're all sodding Italian. Oh, we've remembered we're Italian.
Wait.
There is a question for performance style for all of this, especially as I think we probably can say with some definiteness that this is a bit of a spoof. That this is not. There's no real playing anything seriously here. All of this seems to be aiming for a parody. Is that are they all doing really bad sort of stereotyped Italians all the way through this? I'm not suggesting accents, but there's just that sort of are they doing what they might have thought at the time then of the stereotypical fiery Italian temperament is.
Weren't there Italian acting troupes who travelled through Europe?
Yes.
So that might be something that they would have seen, and there would have been a cliche maybe.
Right, just
Italian acting troupes doing commedia dell'arte with really stereotypical characters that these people seem to be. These particular characters seem to be very similar to. As well.
Yeah, I mean the influence on direct performance in England, I don't think is actually that extensive yet. It's definitely existing, but I don't think it actually really hit the popular imagination in an extensive way. I mean, it's just, but it's all in London, so there will be Italians about, as well. And people do travel abroad, and people moved around more than you'd think.
There was quite a sizable Italian community in London.
Yes, there was. And John Florio had also put 2 dictionaries out.
Yeah.
Very, very popular. So, I mean,
So there was probably some racism going on there too.
The idea that the English were jingoistic, I can't imagine that ever occurring. Ever. I can't.
God, no.
I think that would have been more against the French than the Italians, though.
No, yeah. I mean, well, we can go with, it's mockery of a kind. It doesn't mean that it's with intent.
They're foreigners. They're all the same. Take the mick of them.
Yeah.
I've got an Italian doctor called Prospero, who goes into Star Chamber. He fell out with his wife's family, and in the end, he apparently hired a whole load of bravos to do away with them on Lombard Street. But unfortunately, the people he took on were not Italian assassins, but English, and they got it horribly wrong. So, I mean, these guys were around.
Okay. Any additional thoughts before we finish the official section of this this session? Okay. There's a sense of, again, these scenes overlapping and continuing rather than ending and going on. So enter Piero, Castilio, Mazzugente for Bosco, Feliche, Galeatzo, and one door. And then Balurdo and his page at another door.
This way she took. Search, my sweet gentleman. How now, Balurdo, canst thou meet with anybody?
As I am a true gentleman, I made my horse sweat that he hath ne'er a dry thread on him, and I can meet with no living creature but men and beasts. In good sadness, I would have sworn I had seen Mellida even now, for I saw a thing stir under a hedge, and I peeped, and I spied a thing, and I peered, and I tweered underneath, and true, a right wise man might have been deceived, for it was a dun cow.
Piero?
What in the name of heaven?
A dun cow.
She had never a kettle on her head?
Boy, didst thou see a young lady pass this way?
Why speak you not?
I think Piero's on a...
God's neeks, proud elf, give the Duke reverence. Stand bare with a... Oh, heaven bless me, Mellida, Mellida!
Piero?
Where, man, where?
Piero is distracted in the
Yes.
traditional sense. Turn man, women wear the breeches. Lo, here.
Hello, Alexandra. Can you hear
Light
us?
and unduteous. Kneel not, peevish help. Yeah, I am
Yes,
sorry.
You're
I am
very out of sync with us.
I think a significant delay because I am delivering my lines and there doesn't seem to be much happening.
No.
Yeah.
Switch your video feed off for a moment. See if that's
I mean,
improving.
feel free to hand that over to someone else.
Just see if you're back in sync now. No, I think we're...
Oh, she's back.
Speaking soon after, just as soon as I heard you finish speaking. So
Yeah, there seems to be a good 5-second delay
I
on
don't know
that.
if that makes a difference.
So say something now.
All right. Well, feel free to hand me over to someone else, and I'll try and sort myself out.
Okay,
Now.
we'll do that. You'll hear this in just a moment. Okay, who's free? Mellida, could you take over being Piero, I think, for the rest of the scene?
No,
I'll be having a conversation with myself.
You really
are you
don't
in this
mean
scene?
Mellida.
Yeah, she's coming on now.
I don't think I'm in this scene.
Okay, go for it.
Light and unduteous, kneel not, peevish elf, speak not, entreat not, shame unto my house, curse to my honour. Where's Antonio? Thou traitress to my hate, what? Is he shipped for England now? Well, whimpering harlot, hence!
Good father.
Good me no goods. Seest thou that sprightly youth? Ere thou canst term tomorrow morning old, thou shalt call him thy husband, lord, and love.
Ay me.
Blurt on your eye-me's. Guard her safely hence. Drag her away. I'll be your guard tonight. Young prince, mount up your spirits and prepare to solemnize your nuptials eve with pomp.
The time is scant, now nimble wits appear. Phoebus begins to gleam, the welkins clear. Exuent all but Balurdo and his page.
Now nimble wits appear. I'll myself appear. Balurdo's self, that in quick wit doth surpass, will show the substance of a complete
Ass.
I'll mount my courser and most gallantly prick.
Gallantly prick is too long and stands hardly in the verse, sir.
I'll speak pure rhyme and will so bravely prank it that I'll toss love in a rhyme for prank.
Blanket?
That I'll toss love like a dog in a blanket. Ah, indeed, law. I think I shall tickle the muses, and I strike it not dead, say, Balurdo, thou art an arrant sot.
Balurdo, thou art an arrant sot.
Enter Andrugio and Antonio reeved together as with Lucio.
Now come, united force of chapfallen death. Come, power of fretting anguish. Leave distress. Oh, thus enfolded we have breasts of proof against all the venomed stings of misery.
Father, now I have an antidote against all the poison that the world can breathe. My Mellida doth bless this bleak waste with her presence. How now, boy? Why dost thou weep? Alas, where's Mellida?
I me, my lord.
A sudden horror doth invade my blood. My sinews tremble and my panting heart scuds round about my bosom to go out, dreading the assailant, horrid passion. Oh, be no tyrant, kill me with one blow. Speak quickly, briefly, boy.
Her father found and seized her. She is gone.
Son, heat thy blood. Be not froze up with grief. Courage, sweet boy. Sink not beneath the weight of crushing mischief. Oh, where's thy dauntless heart, thy father's spirit? I renounce thy blood if thou forsake thy valour.
See how his grief speaks in his slow-paced steps. Alas, 'tis more than he can utter. Let him go. Dumb solitary path best suiteth woe.
Exit Antonio.
Give me my arms, my armour, Lucio.
Dear Lord, what means this rage? When lacking use, scarce saves your life. Will you in armour rise?
Fortune fears valour, presseth cowardice.
Then valour gets applause when it hath place. He means to blaze it.
Nunquam potest non esse.
Patience, my lord, may bring your ills some end.
What patience, friend, can ruined hopes attend? Come, let me die like old Andrugio, worthy my birth. Oh, blood true honoured graves are far more blessed than base life of slaves.
And they exit. Lots of things going on there. We figured out why Dildo was on, because Dildo is a page. So when it said in the earlier scene with a page, the page was Dildo, just not called Dildo. It was just called a page. So lots of pages. Helen playing 2 pages in one scene there. So poor Mellida has been dragged away to be married.
And who's she to be married to? I feel like I've missed something.
Not explicitly stated.
It wasn't explicitly stated there, because we have several options, don't we?
No, but he addressed his guy as the young prince. So it's quite possibly Galeatzo.
Galeatzo
would have been
because he's on stage.
To earlier in the play.
Yeah.
And he's appropriate, being the son of a duke.
Yeah.
Yes.
So lucky me.
It'll be a happy marriage, I can tell.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It'll be great. Yeah, and then Antonio, he storms off in a huff when he hears the news, and Andrugio goes. Well, Lucio tries to calm him down. Doesn't work, does it?
No.
And that's the end of Act 4. Any additional thoughts about Act 4?
We're back to proud elves and peevish elves.
We're
back to elves again. What's the fascination with the elves? Was that
they're short?
I thought elves were tall and thin, like Tolkien elves.
Yeah, right.
That's Tolkien, though. He changed it.
Yeah, I think these are elves and sprites and puckish things that are slightly more child like in that quality.
Yeah, they're more the Irish and German kind of little creatures. Really.
Yeah,
Little fellas.
So yeah, it's all moving along. I do like the whole finding Mellida, and it's a cow. No, it's not. It is Mellida.
And he's a clever one.
Yeah. So yeah, it's rattling along. We've got one act to go, but we have this brief little aside, just to confuse you all, because your script now jumps to what we were doing last week. And we didn't do in the script in front of you. I have changed it. I have changed to your scheduled broadcast. We have one of the additions that were added to the Spanish tragedy, and it's an interesting little scene involving Hieronimo and a painter. And the first scene of Act 5 features Balurdo and a painter. So I thought it'd be quite nice if we just briefly go back to last week. Just go back to last week. And we're going to do this little scenette first of Hieronimo and the painter. I think in your script, are you going from, what's the first line that you've got there? God bless you, sir. God bless you, sir. Yes. So we're just doing the painter and Hieronimo exchange, and we're going to see if there's any connection between the two texts.
And you've got Isabella with one line.
Yeah. Anyone? I haven't allocated that. Anyone want to go for that?
I'll go for that.
Lovely.
Make a change from pages.
Alexandra, are you with us, do you think?
I am, I hope.
Yes. That was in sync.
Yay!
Excellent. Okay, let's go from the entrance of the painter. So this is the Spanish tragedy, everyone. This is Thomas Kidd or whoever wrote this edition.
God bless you, sir.
Wherefore? Why, thou scornful villain? How, where, or by what means should I be blessed?
What wouldst thou have, good fellow?
Justice, madam.
Oh, ambitious beggar! Wouldst thou have that lives not in the world? Why, all the undelved mines cannot buy an ounce of justice. 'Tis a jewel so inestimable, I tell thee, God hath engrossed all justice in his hands, and there is none but what comes from him.
Oh, then I see that God must right me for my murdered son.
How? Was thy son murdered?
Aye, sir. No man did hold a son so dear.
What, not as thine? That's a lie as massy as the earth. I had a son, whose least unvalued hair did weigh 1,000 of thy sons. Then he was murdered.
Alas, sir, I had no more but he.
Nor I. But this same one of mine was worth a legion. But all is one. Pedro, Jacques, go inner doors. Isabella, go. And this good fellow here and I will range this hideous orchard up and down like two lions reaved of their young. Go inner doors, I say.
And they exit, and the painter and Hieronimo sit down.
Come, let's talk wisely now. Was thy son murdered?
Aye, sir.
So was mine. How dost take it? Art thou not sometimes mad? Is there no tricks that come before thine eyes?
Oh, Lord, yes, sir.
Art thou a painter? Canst paint me a tear, a wound, a groan, or a sigh? Canst paint me such a tree as this?
Sir, I am sure you have heard of my painting. My name's Bazzardo.
Bazzardo! Fore God, an excellent fellow. Look you, sir, do you see? I'd have you paint me for my gallery, in your oil colours mattered, and draw me 5 years younger than I am. Do you see, sir? Let 5 years go. Let them go like the Marshal of Spain. And my wife, Isabella, standing by me, with a speaking look to my son Horatio, which should intend this or some such like purpose. God bless thee, my sweet son. And my hand leaning upon his head. Thus, sir, do you see? May it be done?
Very well, sir.
Nay, I pray mark me, sir. Then, sir, would I have you paint this tree. This very tree. Canst paint a doleful cry?
Seemingly, sir.
Nay, it should cry. But all is one. Well, sir, paint me a youth run through and through with villains' swords, hanging upon this tree. Canst thou draw a murderer?
I'll warrant you, sir. I have the pattern of the most notorious villains that ever lived in all Spain.
Oh, let them be worse. Worse! Stretch thine art, and let their beards be of Judas in his own colour, and let their eyebrows jutty over. In any case, observe that. Then, sir, after some violent noise, bring me forth in my shirt and my gown under my arm, with my torch in my hand and my sword reared up thus, and with these words, "What noise is this? Who calls Hieronimo?" May it be done?
Yea, sir.
Well, sir, then bring me forth. Bring me through alley and alley, still with distracted countenance, going along, and let my hair heave up my nightcap. Let the clouds scowl, make the moon dark, the stars extinct, the winds blowing, the bells tolling, the owls shrieking, the toads croaking, the minutes jarring, and the clock striking 12. And at last, sir, starting, behold a man hanging, and tottering, as you know the wind will wave a man, and I, with a trice, cut him down, and, looking upon him by the advantage of my torch, find it to be my son Horatio. There you may show a passion. There you may show a passion. Draw me like old Priam of Troy, crying, "The house is afire, the house is afire," as the torch over my head. Make me curse, make me rave, make me cry, make me mad, make me well again, make me curse hell, invocate heaven, and in the end leave me in a trance. And so forth.
And is this the end?
Oh no, there is no end. The end is death and madness. As I am never better than when I am mad, then methinks I am a brave fellow. Then do I wonders. But reason abuseth me, and there's the torment, there's the hell. At the last, sir, bring me to one of the murderers. Were he as strong as Hector, thus would I tear and drag him up and down.
And he beats the painter in and moves on with the rest of the play that we did last week. Okay, so it's a very different play. It's a very different thing. We have Buzzardo, the painter, from talking to Hieronimo about grief and things. Now, I don't know if this actually has any connection with the scene that's about to come up. It may not. It may be completely irrelevant. But we didn't do it last week, and it seemed like a good place to put it in. And if it turns out to be utterly irrelevant, I'll just quietly cut this and put it somewhere else. So we'll just do the opening of Act 5 before we pause. So we're back to Antonio and Mellida. And we are in the palace of the Duke of Venice. So this is our daily exercise for the day. And so we have enter Balurdo, a painter with 2 pictures, and Dildo.
And are you a painter, sir? Can you draw? Can you draw?
Yes, sir.
Indeed, Lord. Now, so can my father's 4-horse. And are these the workmanship of your hands?
I did limn them.
Limn them. Oh, a good word. Limn them. Whose picture is this? Anno Domini. Believe me, Master Anno Domini was of a good settled age when you limbed him. Years old. Let's see the other. Etatius Sue. Our lady here is somewhat younger. Belike Master Etatius Sue was Anno Domino's son.
Is not your master...
He hath a little proclivity to him.
Proclivity? Good youth. I thank you for your courtly proclivity.
Approach, good sir. I did send for you to draw me a device, an imprezza, by Synecdoche a mot, by Phoebus crimson taffeta mantle. I think I speak as melodiously. Look you, sir, how think you on't? I would have you paint me for my device, a good fat leg of ewe mutton, swimming in stewed broth of plums. Boy, keel your mouth, it runs over. And the word shall be, hold my dish while I spill my pottage. Sure in my conscience, 'twould be the most sweet device now.
'Twould scent of kitchen stuff too much.
God's neeks, now I remember me, I had the rarest device in my head that ever breathed. Can you paint me a drivelling, reeling song, and let the word be,
A belch?
Oh, no. Paint me, or nothing.
It cannot be done, sir, but by a seeming kind of drunkenness.
No? Well, let me have a good massy ring with your own posy graven in it that must sing a small treble word for word thus. And if you will my true lover be, come follow me to the greenwood.
Oh, Lord, sir, I cannot make a picture sing.
Why, Slid, I've seen painted things sing as sweet, but I haven't. Will tickle it for a conceit of faith.
Enter Feliche and Alberto.
Alberto. Am I Alberto?
I don't know. Is that I've made up? I've not got that far. So anyone wants to jump in and be Alberto? We're not going very far.
Oh dear Felice, give me thy device. How shall I purchase love of Rossaline?
Swill, flatter her soundly.
Her love is such I cannot flatter her. But with my utmost vehemence of speech I have adored her beauties.
Hast writ good moving, unaffected rhymes to her?
Oh yes, Felice, but she scorns my writ.
Hast thou presented her with sumptuous gifts?
Alas, my fortunes are too weak to offer them.
Oh, then I have it. I'll tell thee what to do.
What, good Felice?
Go and hang thyself, I say. Go hang thyself. If that thou canst not give, go hang thyself. I'll rhyme thee dead, or verse thee to the rope. How thinkest thou of a poet that sung thus? Munera sola pacant, sola adunt muna formam, munere celestis palada, cypris erit. Munera.
I'll go and breathe my woes into the rocks and spend my grief upon the deafest seas. I'll weep my passion to the senseless trees and load most solitary air with plaints. For woods, trees, sea, or rocky Apennine is not so ruthless as my Rossaline. Farewell, dear friend. Expect no more of me. Here ends my part in this love's comedy.
And exit Alberto and the painter, which is quite an interesting little thing. We're just going to rattle on for a tiny little bit more because we're not into extra time yet. We will come back and discuss. Hold on to those thoughts. So the painter and Alberto have randomly exited together.
Now, Master Balurdo, whither art thou going? Ha!
Senor Felice, how do you, faith? And by my troth, how do you?
Whither art thou going, bully?
And as heaven help me, how do you, Ifaitha?
Whither art going, man?
Oh God, to the court. I'll be willing to give you grace and good countenance, if I may but see you in the presence.
Oh, to court. Farewell.
If you see one in a yellow taffeta doublet, cut upon carnation velour, a green hat, a blue pair of velvet hose, a gilt rapier, and an orange tawny pair of worsted silk stockings, that's I.
Very good. Farewell.
You shall know me as easily. I had bought me a new green feather with a red sprig. You shall see my wrought shirt hang out at my breeches. You shall know me.
Very good. Very good. Farewell.
Marry, in the mask 'twill be somewhat hard, but if you hear anybody speak so wittily that he makes all the room laugh, that's I. Farewell, good senor.
And we will, I think, stop there because it gets even more complex as we go along. I felt there was some connection between the two scenes, if only homeopathically. There are a few moderate crossovers. There's mentions of trees in some way. The general thing of this is the motto I want to, this is the device I want, which has a certain connection. But I wouldn't go that you really need to know that at all, I would have thought. It doesn't feel that connected. Thoughts on the room? Are we just getting the cart before the horse?
That bit about all the kitchen stuff, the good fat leg of ewe mutton swimming in stewed broth of plums. I mean, that does sound like a mockery of the Spanish tragedy of the painter's scene. I mean, that I don't know. It seemed to have an echo in it. I mean, given that, as you told me last week, this was a very popular play. I mean, the audience must have got that. I would have thought that must have been a joke for them.
Yeah, because he talks about a device in the painters, the Spanish tragedy scene, and so it's, even though it's a completely different and absurd device, it's got a great gag. I do like the Anno Domini, Master Anno, him, yes. It's not too clever a gag. I quite like that. I also like paint me a reeling song and let the word be.
That's great.
It is a funny scene. I do like that. And again, it's setting up that what's going on here is another one of these ongoing court scenes where we have the relationships all overflowing, people still trying to get the love of Rossaline, and and Balurdo, we're getting a good description of what he looks like or what he wants to look like as well, and that double meaning of, I will make all the room, he'll make all the room laugh. And I'm thinking he's not necessarily for the reason that you're thinking of. I'm thinking there. You're thinking that you're filling the room full of joy, and no, everyone just thinks you're a twonk.
He seems to have got everything in the way of costume except cross garters.
Yeah, we don't mention that. So that's fine. Making a note there.
Ooh, strike one.
Considering we've done so well today and there's so many references you could have gone for, that was the one you chose. Not even sure on dating terms that quite matches anyway. But it's there's lots of questions actually I need to ask about where this fits in to some of those references, because I'm not even 100% certain how well, temporally speaking, the additions match with this anyway. So it's an interesting question. Other thoughts about the play so far? Just generally the play, what we've done today. Pamela, you've been thrown in at the deep end.
I have, but I'm very much enjoying it. I don't know what I was anticipating, but it was not this.
No. I think to be fair, the room was ahead of you. In the sense of yesterday, they really didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
At least now a character said what this is meant to be.
Yeah. This is feeling very, very spoofy, entertaining comedy, playing around with genre quite deliberately. And I think that's becoming much clearer as we go. You can contradict me if you like. It's fine.
Is it likely that this would have been intended as parody, either more likely as parody of several genres or potentially of genre in general than of a specific production? Because it doesn't seem to have all the parallels with the same thing, but there are loads of parallels.
Oh yeah, I think it's a very general parody. It's throwing in anything it can into the mix. And that's the thing that we think Marston does. Derek, go.
If I could make a modern one, I think I might go for something like Tarantino. In that, yes, it's playing off genre and playing off classics, but that doesn't mean that you're just it's all ridiculous, if you know what I mean.
But it is a little bit like one of those, I mean, this is exaggerating, but it's a little bit like, what were they called? Like Not Another Teen Movie, or one of those things that literally took a genre and threw all the cliches together and made a film out of it in like the early noughties.
Sorry, Helen.
So
Helen, it reminds me of nothing so much as Carry On Up the Khyber.
I think Derek's point is a really good one, in the sense that where you place tone in Marston is really hard, and that it does shift, and that there is possibly trying to have your cake and eat it. And that doesn't necessarily, it means it always works on that level, and sometimes it does go wholeheartedly into full-scale comedy, and sometimes it's pulling it back and it's just enjoying being over the top in that Tarantino-y kind of way. It's a really interesting play to wrestle with and try and decide what a company's tone with this would be. And decide what you're going to do with it. And I think context of how you're performing it, if you're performing it in quite a cabaret style, that suggests a route in theatrically, that you're all quite hugger-mugger. There's opportunity to move amongst the audience quite a bit, as well as keep a semi-distance theatrically. That's sort of in my head. Any other sort of parallels that anyone's getting from the room?
The only one that occurred to me, I don't know why it suddenly popped into my head, was Tim Burton did a film of Sleepy Hollow quite a few years ago. And Johnny Depp, the way Johnny Depp plays, what's he called? I can't think what he's called now.
Ichabod.
Ichabod, that's right. The way he plays him, he's the hero, but he's just so wimpy and so and kind of always fainting. And so he's kind of noble and yet really, really comic. And Antonio just really reminds me of him, and the whole emo thing as well. I just, that was the parallel that popped into my head.
Yeah, I think as the play went on, you started to kind of get a grasp on Antonio, but it took a while, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, because we were sort of discussing, if it was a traditional romantic comedy, we don't really like Antonio very much. He doesn't quite work in that vein. There's something more heightened about him and about everyone, actually. I think everyone's a bit intense.
Yeah, I wonder how if as a production company putting this on, or a performance company, if you were to get everyone to treat the characters to treat themselves very seriously, I think you'd just get potentially the best of both worlds, because if the audience takes them seriously at certain points, then there will be an emotional kind of connection, and if they don't, they are ridiculous without being over the top, without you having to play the over the topness of it just because it's in the dialogue already.
Yeah, I think the thing is, as with much comedy, if you try and play it for laughs, then it would probably die horribly in your hands.
It never works.
I
mean, it's the classic bit of director's guidance, isn't it? It's like, you play it to the actor, you play it as seriously as you can. The more you struggle with it, the funnier it's going to be for the audience. But if you play it for laughs, they're not going to find it funny. It's just the way it works.
It's sort of the way Lecoq approaches melodrama as an acting style of, you are intensely in one emotional state or one track, but you can in an instant go in another emotional track, and that doesn't matter. That you don't have a journey in the same way, but you're doing everything very focusedly. I think that might be a very interesting route into this, especially as we move into the second play, and the question of what these two plays are doing in relation to each other as well, and what they're doing with genre and what they're doing with text. Because tomorrow we go into that awkward moment of when we all put down one text and pick up another, and we go from this into Antonio's revenge. So there's probably going to be some revenge motivation coming soon. Just a bit of a spoiler there. There might be some motivation. Any final thoughts before we wrap up? We're into extra time.
One vocabulary thing. The word slid, apostrophe S-L-I-D, comes up several times. It's obviously a form of oath in some ways. I'm familiar with things like swoons as an abbreviation of God's wounds, but I can't quite work out what the slid
God's eyelids.
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
obviously also it's pre 1604 when they had the thing where you couldn't take the Lord's name in vain on the stage anymore.
Yeah.
And everybody had to change it. So it must be pre that.
Yeah, I think the dating's around 1599, 1600, I think, off the top of my head. Again,
Right.
As we go further into this process, I will start introducing actual facts.
change the habits of a lifetime.
Yes. I'm starting to gather a few bits of material that I'll filter into the process as we go. Other thoughts in the room before we close up? No, everyone's very silent. It's either that we're all glitching at the same time, one of the two. Last chance to forever hold your peace. No, okay. So I'd just like to thank all the readers for...
A throwback to...
Oh no, Derek is trying to say something.
A throwback to the induction. I love that when we do go into Antonio's Revenge tomorrow, it's only because this play has been successful. He says, the author plans a second part if this finds favor. So it's interesting to think of that kind of, drama by installments model.
Yeah.
And that's interesting if we compare this again with the Spanish tragedy of... we talked about that there has been a production of Antonio's Revenge and slightly more attention has been paid to Antonio's Revenge, and that actually, weirdly, the sequel gets slightly more attention than the part one, which in modern days doesn't happen very often.
Terminator 2?
Godfather.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, but you wouldn't watch Godfather 2 without watching Godfather 1. Godfather 1 hasn't disappeared.
That's true.
Which certainly we can say about the Spanish tragedy seemed to have happened.
Talking about productions, Robert, I did a little bit of Googling last night, and I think Helen mentioned Edward's Boys, and they did part of this play. They did the induction and the prologue as part of a longer show, doing sort of the best bits of Marston.
Oh right, so they have done some of this,
but several years ago.
Oh yes, which I say is probably commercially available because they do record their materials and make it available to purchase. So that might be something for our listeners at home to look out, because they have done some really good work, some of which I may mention as the week progresses. Okay, any other final thoughts?
Nope.
Because someone was actually glitching last time, so I will take a moment. Okay, I will say thank you to everyone for reading today. We will continue with the rest of Act 5 of Antonio and Mellida tomorrow, and into the next play after that. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.